Chapter 31. Hidden Sand Convergence. Part 5. Naruto took the brunt of the explosion. His clothes and flak jacket are ripped and torn, his hair is dirty, and he was knocked out of sage mode. He looks at his surroundings. Everyone was blown away by the explosion and are getting back to their feet to the best of their abilities. Some were hit harder than others, especially the civilians who can't protect themselves, like Shinobi can. The buildings have taken a heavy hit as well, many of them beginning to crumble. Get the civilians out of here. Maki orders at the top of her lungs as the shinobi around her spring into action. She keeps her eyes on the bizarre 8-armed person floating in front of them. She's hurt and bleeding, but her binding cloth is already extended in preparation. The same thought flashes across both Naruto and Hinata's minds. The kids. He's out of sage mode and not in a position to sit still long enough, and she's still feeling the effects of her tensegan. As they rack their minds with worry, they hear Kotori's voice far in the distance. Mom. Dad. All three of them and Yukimaru run around a building to the back, trying to find where their mentors are. The moment they do, Naruto shouts loud enough for them to hear despite the distance. Don't get closer. Get out of here. Yukimaru. Guren holds her bleeding arm. Go with the shinobi. The kids seem reluctant. They want to go to them, but the entity in the air gives off a far too menacing aura. They know they shouldn't go. Senator flickers next to them and ushers them to go back. Listen, we all have to do what we're best at. And our teachers are best at dealing with this, alright? Let's go. The being that introduced itself as Hachiman points one of its banners to Sekai and Isa. You will surrender more of your power to us, Akurojin. Your flames, diluted as they are in the possession of these mortals, will be the spark of our revenge. It lightly flicks the banner up, and the two brothers begin floating. Isa tries to use his mace as an anchor, but it's no use. Sekai quickly weaves his chakra into his binding cloth and wraps some it around his brother while he sends others flying to grab onto a nearby building. Before his cloth can wrap itself to pull them to safety, Hachiman flicks its banner toward itself and the brothers begin flying toward it, Sekai's cloth flying with them. Before they can get too close, a long tongue flies past them and wraps around both of them, pulling them back until they no longer feel themselves pulled to the being. As they fall back, Naruto meets them mid-air, pressing his hands against their backs to prop them. It's now that they see the origin of the long tongue is Naruto himself when he releases them, and it returns to normal size and goes back where it belongs. Sekai raises a brow. You can do that? Not now. Whatever that thing is, it clearly wants you to, and I'm assuming you'd rather not. You guess correctly. Truce. Isa looks back to the younger man. Truce. Naruto smiles. Kurama. Let's go. Finally. Kurama grins inwardly. I've been growing bored. Naruto clothes become enveloped in the more than familiar orange chakra. He instantly transfers chakra to the two brothers, with Isa's vest taking on the same orange properties, as well as Sekai's bandages. When Kurama's avatar fully materializes, the brothers begin feeling their chakra overflowing. So this is the Nine Tails? Sekai observes his wounds healing. My chakra. It's as if we hadn't just fought. Isa comments. Boy, Uzumaki, if you'd used this power earlier. Naruto cuts him off. The town wouldn't have survived. He keeps his gaze focused on Hachiman. The being's Sharingan swirls. Kurama growls. Those eyes again. Two of Tamamo's descendants who wield Akurojin's flames and one who wields the nine-tailed abomination. How curious this world has become in our absence. Hachiman ponders. Hey, Kurama. I know I told you I'd give you time, but I know. But even if you ask me, Tamamo never spoke of anything like this. Whatever she did to it either happened before I met her or after. Kurama answers without even hearing the full question. Ah. Naruto yells exasperated. What's the point of being alive for 1,000 years if you don't know anything that happened? Well, excuse me for having my own things to deal with. It's moving. Sekai interrupts the spat as he notices Hachiman preparing to go on the offensive. Kurama speeds forward diagonally in an attempt to reach it before it can do anything, but having the Sharingan means getting the jump on it is difficult. Continuous tailed beast bomb. Kurama fires a series of small bombs, at the very least as a diversionary tactic. Hachiman flicks its banners in quick succession to send them flying to the sides, completely missing it. That power, it almost feels like Nagato's repulsion and attraction. Kurama jumps up and brings all of his tails to the front, ready to slam down with their full force. Hachiman blocks all 9 tails as they come crashing down, although the strength behind them forces it to lower its altitude, slightly struggling. It draws its bow, a chakra arrow materializing not unlike Hinata's chakra weapons when using her Tensagen. It fires from point-blank range, completely eliminating 7 of the tails. Naruto and Kurama have only a moment to look on in surprise as to how easily their chakra form was disrupted, as they still have a jutsu to finish. The tails were mostly a cover. When Hachiman destroys 7 of the tails, it's now face to face with a large orb of black chakra ready to be shot at point blank, as well. Tailed Beast Bomb. In the meanwhile, the explosion is seen, heard, and felt from a great distance. The people within town cry out in panic, thinking another blast will destroy their town, but nothing comes. Many have been too absorbed in trying to escape and only now see the 9-tailed demon fox battling this new threat. Some of them are relieved that he's here to fight back, while others worry that this will spell their hometown's destruction. Taori stares at the fight happening in the horizon, her breath shallow. Her mind's blocking out the cries around her. She was off for a walk when everything went to hell. She clutches her shirt, her mind still processing the threat. She doesn't pay attention to the people running past or to the shinobi shouting orders. She's not sure if a voice finally did reach her or if it was the sudden appearance of a shadow, but she absent-mindedly looks up just in time to see a large slab of concrete falling from a building right on top of her. She can only let out a short gasp, her voice falling. She falls back in her attempt to get out of the way. She tries to cry out for help, but only a whimper comes out. Before the concrete falls on top of her, she feels something tug at her clothes. Once again she was too absorbed to notice it, but it pulls her away from danger, tugging on her clothes and pushing her feet. The concrete falls and shatters to pieces just in front of her, and once she manages to calm down, she takes a look at what saved her. Feathers. Embedded into the soles of her shoes and into her clothes, they were what pulled her away. She looks around and sees Katori land right next to her, hands forming the bird seal. Ninja art aviary. Sparrows. Half a dozen small birds appear and scatter in every direction, on the lookout. They enter each and every building, very audibly chirping at certain buildings. Hidden sand shinobi flicker through the windows of buildings where the sparrows chirp and come out carrying children or people unable to walk. Taori looks at Katori with a surprise. She's already in action, just like the shinobi. Katori holds out her hand. Come on, we gotta get away. Taori takes the hand without a moment's hesitation, still in awe of the other girl's actions. They run for a few moments before Taori realizes her hand is still being held as Katori pulls her to safety. She retracts her hand, breaking from Katori, and holds her hand close to her chest, blushing with slight embarrassment. Even though I want to be a ninja, I couldn't. Crystal style, crystal encampment wall. Light blue crystals grow over nearby buildings just as they were ready to crumble and fall to the street. With their new support structure in place, Yakimaru looks around for any more unstable buildings, already sweating. All the crystal walls he's made so far have been his height at most, but now he created one that covers the first floors of the buildings. It's extremely draining on his chakra supply, but he has to do it. Even though they probably weren't supposed to, the kids were observing the earlier fight from a roof a safe distance away. He saw what Gurren is capable of, what the crystal style is capable of in experienced hands. Looking back, he's really been slacking off in his training as far as his Kekkei Genkai is concerned, so he needs to pick it up. With a firm resolve, he flickers away to help. As the girls continue to run, Katori continues to send out her sparrows to look for people in need. Their duration isn't long as some are lost to falling debris. The moment she loses even one, she summons another batch, making her chakra reserves deplete at a faster rate. From a nearby building, Taori hears a knocking. She stops, thinking someone might be in danger, and is trying to get out, but the wall soon begins to crack as the thuds increase. Eventually it breaks and Shoto comes out from the building, clearing the smoke and dust, and civilians following him. Thank you. Thank you. The people express their gratitude to the boy before seeking safety. She notices his hands are trembling, but he tries to keep them steady. Taori looks to all three in awe. They're not even from here, but are doing everything they can to save people. And I'm just standing here, stupid, as if you can become a shinobi like this. Katori and Yakimaru are panting from chakra exhaustion, while blood drips to the ground from Shoto's bruised knuckles. Why are you fighting? She asks the three of them out loud. Because mom and dad are fighting too. Katori declares. They taught and showed us what it means to be a shinobi. Yakimaru adds. If we're to prove worthy of being their students, we can't do anything less. Shoto asserts. In unison, they finish. So we'll fight with everything we got. Taori clenches her fist, nails digging into her palm. I'll help too. She proclaims. Katori looks back to her and grins. All right. Team Katori, move out. We're not calling ourselves that. Back to a fight. The dust cloud still rages. Kurama's taken a stance, ready to pounce, after creating some distance. Hachiman roars and clears the dust by violently swinging both banners. It draws the bow once more and fires an arrow, sending it straight with great force to the point of kicking up sand as it travels toward Kurama's chakra avatar. They swiftly dodge to the side expecting to be safe from it. Behind us? Sekai calls out and brings Naruto's attention to that direction. He sees that very same arrow following closely behind them. What? How? He wonders. Kurama dodges to the side again, and this time they clearly see the projectile swerve mid-air and continue to follow them. Brother. Isa calls out and begins forming hand signs. Sekai sees him and copies the motions, being all too familiar with the technique. He smirks. This thing wants our power, it can have it. Ninja art fire style, Aku Rojin. The brothers channel their chakra through Kurama, mixing their jutsu with the avatar. Where previously Kurama had black stripes running all across his body, they're now white and burning with white flames. This gives them the boost in speed they needed to get slightly further ahead of the arrow, but it's still gaining on them. Got a way to stop it, hero? Sekai turns to Naruto. I just might. He answers. Kurama stops in his tracks and faces the incoming arrow. Not what I had in mind. Kurama gathers energy in his palm, swirling raw chakra mixed in with the white flames of the Miyashi brothers. Sage art fire style, Aku Rojin Rasengan. Naruto slams the empowered Rasengan into the arrow before it can hit them, creating a massive explosion, not unlike when Hachiman first appeared, that sends Kurama flying back. Fortunately, this time Naruto had run a fair distance from the town, so no one was caught in the resulting blast. When they get a better look at their surroundings, they're met by the sight of 4 more chakra arrows flying their way. Kurama's still lying on his back. Even with the power-up from the Miyashis, these things are way too close. There's not enough time. Crystal style? Crystal encampment wall. Gentle step, chakra spears. 2 of the arrows are intercepted by different projectiles composed of chakra, ones Naruto's familiar with. They're not strong enough to stop them completely, but their course is thrown off, so they completely miss their mark. The other 2 arrows are halted by a crystalline shield that springs up front of them. The arrows hit and shatter it, but they're also dispersed as a result. Hachiman turns its gaze to the origin of the interruption. Guren's panting heavily and on the verge of fainting from using so much chakra, while Hinata has to deactivate her Tensagen and close her eyes from overuse. Gozu stands in front of both of them, ready to protect them. Insolent creatures. This does not concern you. That's where you're wrong. Hinata contests it. If you're a threat to our world, then it's our job to stop you. Then be the first to perish. Hachiman draws the bow, creating 3 arrows, and fires at them. Kurama gets up to his feet and runs for them, but Hachiman was closer. The arrows will reach first. Hinata. Naruto calls out in a panic, putting every bit of his strength into moving faster. He channels powers from within, deeper than Kurama. From the source of power that connects Kurama with his siblings. Given the current environment, one in particular makes sense. The manifestation of sand, Shukaku. Naruto draws strength from the One-Tail's chakra. He hasn't used it a whole lot, but now's a great time to learn. He focuses his chakra to Kurama's feet. When he steps on the sand, he uses Shukaku's abilities to propel them further ahead, shifting the sand forward to boost their speed. It works. Naruto rushes in and absorbs Hinata, Guren, and Gozu into Kurama's avatar and makes a run for it. As before, the arrows follow them, but he already has a strategy that worked. Kurama jumps up and turns around, once again collecting chakra in his palms, this time adding whirling winds to the chakra and fire. Sage art scorch style, Aku Rojin Rasen Shuriken. He throws the roaring mixture of fire and wind directly into the 3 arrows, resulting in yet another large blast of searing winds. Naruto looks back to the new additions. Don't think I've ever had this many people in on for a ride. Getting a little crowded. He channels his chakra into them, as well, giving their clothes a cloak of orange chakra. Is everyone alright? I depleted nearly all of my chakra, but I'm fine now thanks to you and Kurama. She reaches to touch his shoulder, only now opening her eyes. Having her chakra restored helps with her sight, but now to test whether her sight can help with this creature. So, what do we know of it? So, looks like you two have a bounty hunter of your own, huh? Gurren mocks the Miyashi brothers. Shut it. Sekai snaps. So it would seem. Isa agrees with the statement. Hey, don't agree with her. The same as Tamamo, constantly concerned with the lives of others. Hachiman scowls. Tamamo this, Tamamo that. Starting to get annoyed, you know. What do we even have to do with this Tamamo? I told you, didn't I? Kurama's voice booms. The ones to seal away the great beasts, and apparently this thing, were the descendants of the Uzumaki clan. So if Tamamo sealed him away, Naruto takes in the information for a moment. You mean she's in Uzumaki? Well, her children were, but let's go with yes. Then what about these two? Naruto looks back to Sekai and Isa. No clue. I suppose we are related through our father. Sekai shrugs. Asuka Uzumaki. Isa confirms. Wait, what? He completely turns out in surprise. Why didn't you say something? Wasn't important until now. Kurama goes on the move to dodge another volley of arrows, putting Naruto off balance, although it's not entirely possible for him to fall in his current position. You can talk about it later. Now focus. Naruto, leave them to me. Hinata opens her eyes, revealing the flower pattern in her cyan eyes. Tense again. Purple flame-like chakra now surrounds Kurama's avatar form, joining with the white fire from the two brothers. This time, instead of materializing around Kurama's hands, the chakra spears materialize around two of his tails. Hinata takes control of those tails and flicks them to fire her spears to intercept the arrows. One manages to get through, but is dealt with by a third spear. I think they're getting stronger. Hinata surmises. No. Gozu corrects her. It's not that it's getting stronger. It's regaining its strength. Semantics won't help us right now. Gurren looks to her partner. Come on, we can't just remain as passengers, can we? No, I suppose not. Earth style, rock armor. Crystal style, crystal armor. Both Gurren and Gozu channel their own chakra through Kurama, crystalline structures appearing all over his body, while the earth below them rises and covers parts of his body. Kurama's form becomes surrounded in armor composed of mixing both their elemental ninjutsu. While the torso is dominantly crystal and the arms and legs dominantly earth, no part has only one element. They've combined their abilities to create an impenetrable armor. Ha, now that's what I'm talking about. Naruto cheers and jumps in the air to slam down on Hachiman. Gurren creates a smaller crystalline shape in Kurama's hand. A sword hilt. Hinata channels her Tensagen to create a chakra sword emerging from it. The Miyashi brothers send their unique fire style through, setting the new sword ablaze with white fire, which is finally strengthened by Naruto's wind style. The white fires create a large curtain of flames that's sent swinging down with full force. I take it back. This is what I'm talking about. Naruto engages Hachiman in a close-quarters duel, but the eight arms fend off his assault. This entire time, two of Hachiman's arms have been pressed together in a meditative state, but it finally separates them, creating a long pole of chakra. When its hands finally separate fully, a glaive appears in its hand, of similar make to its bow and arrows. We will take our rightful place. It proclaims and engages with the glaive, sending powerful strike after powerful strike. Amaterasu. Downward swipe. Kodo Amatsu Kami. Side swipe. Takamikazuchi. Glaive clashes with sword. Kurama struggles for a bit but is eventually sent flying back with great force, skidding across the sand. They will all pay for betraying us, and you shall do nothing to stop us, descendants of Tamamo. Those names, Naruto mostly recognizes the first two. They're the names of the Mangekyo Sharingan's abilities. Hinata confirms his suspicions. They're jutsu, but why's it talking like they're people? He questions. HRM. Isa ponders. The way it talked about our Akurogen made it sound like a person, as well. Yeah, I was meaning to ask, what even is your ability, that it would want it? The conversation is put on a brief pause as Hachiman goes on the offensive again. Combining glaive with bow attacks with great ease, and even trying to grapple with its remaining free hands. Sekai grunts, trying to focus on both the fight and the explanation. The Miyashi clan has a unique fire style as you clearly saw for yourself. Stories of old tell that our ancestors made a pact with a fire demon. Always thought that was just an exaggerated way of saying our elders were really powerful, But Isa nods in agreement. It sounds like an actual pact may have actually been made. It's not just a special fire-style jutsu, but powers from an entity, probably similar in nature to this one, that calls itself Hachiman. Another arrow is intercepted by the Tensagon's chakra spears. Hachiman flies in, arms and weapons at the ready. Its speed and strength have been steadily increasing, but they're managing so far. It uses both glaive and arrow to strike, and 4 of its arms to hit, but the crystal and earth armor is proving difficult to crack as whatever damage is dealt is immediately fixed. This continues for an extended time, each trading blows, but not landing a significant hit. With each strike, Hachiman damages the armor more and more to the point where Gurren and Gozu can't mend it in time. Kurama swings his 9 tails to counter its 8 arms, striking and pushing them away, but Hachiman grabs hold of them and swings Kurama in the air, ready to throw him into the distance. Before it can let go, Gurren gets an idea. She sends her crystal-style chakra through the tails and connects Kurama's tails to Hachiman's hands via the crystals. When Kurama is sent flying, Hachiman is unable to let go and goes with him, but having the ability to fly quickly gathers itself and shatters the bindings. Kurama thuds on the ground with much less force he would have originally. Nice save, Gurren. Naruto gives a thumbs up. Not out of the woods yet, kid. She warns. Hachiman grows visibly angrier. Where previously it had a haughty, arrogant expression, it's beginning to show annoyance with the constant defiance. It raises its banners high above its head and violently swings them down. The gravitational force is several times greater than anything it showed before. Rather than Nagato's Rinnegan abilities, this feels closer to the dimension Kaguya sent them. Kurama can't stand up. The others don't feel the effects as much due to the protection of the chakra avatar, but their bodies are much heavier, as well. Hachiman draws the bow and begins gathering chakra. It's denser and more concentrated than before. This is a kill shot. They won't be able to survive a hit, and they can't move. Damn it, come on. Naruto urges. We can't let it win here. Naruto Mindscape. For but a moment, Naruto is sent to his mind space. 9 torii gates positioned in a circle, with him in the middle. Kurama lies beneath the gate numbered 9. From the gate marked 1, sand fills the ground, inching its way closer to the center, a sandstorm raging behind it. From the gate marked 7, a faint buzzing sound can be heard, growing louder. Hundreds of scales dance in the air, reflecting the light that seems to be omnipresent in this place. Naruto smirks. Kurama clicks his tongue. They can't just stop butting in, can they? Back to reality. We only gotta hold it off for a bit longer, guys. Backup's coming. He warns his companions. I might have an idea. Gurren focuses her chakra to the crystal-style sword hilt. Can you at least aim the sword at it? He grunts. I can try. Whatcha thinkin'? She smirks. A special property of my crystal style. The hilt's shape begins shifting and moving, the crystal's very structure changing. I've found I can use it a great many ways, not limited just to crystals. I'll make it into a glass hilt. And how's that supposed to help us in this situation? Sekai urges for an answer, their time running short. Come, you look like the type that burned ants as a kid. He was. Isa nods. Will you stop? He begins yelling at his brother but stops. Hold on, you mean? Gurren only smiles in response. Crystal style, string of glory. The intense desert sun's rays quickly gather in the glass hilt, growing only more intense because of the unique properties of the jutsu. This is not just ordinary glass. From the hilt, going through the chakra blade enveloped with scorching white fires, a beam of light bursts forth, directly hitting Hachiman in the eyes. It cannot react in time. The Sharingan can follow movement but not light. It violently twists in pain. The chakra it had been gathering until now disperses itself and tries to break away, but Gurren keeps the light positioned on it for as long as she can. The gravitational pull ends and Kurama is free to move, just in time too, as Gurren's jutsu runs out. Hachiman growls in pain. You, insolent insects. Its face and most of its body is burned, visibly despite its onyx black skin. It goes to swing its banners once more. In its rage, it does not see the approaching presences. Tail sting. Don't think I've been called insolent before. That's a new one. From above, a large armored insect flies down with great speeds, impaling it with his tail. 6 grand wings flapping violently, releasing small glittering scales. Scale powder. The scales reflect the sun, causing the entire area to flash brightly. Hachiman is once again blinded and does not see the sand moving underneath. It gathers in a large wave that washes over it once Chimay brings in his tail. Dessert layered imperial funeral seal. A sand pyramid encompasses an area larger than a tailed beast, more than enough to cover Hachiman's body. Chimay and Shukaku move to stand besides Kurama. No one asked for your help. Kurama growls. Is that any way to talk to someone coming to save you? Shukaku argues. As if I'd need saving from a single-tailed rat. I'm not a rat, you mutt. If you're so strong, why do you need so much protection, huh? Shukaku motions to the armor Kurama's form is adorned with. Why you? Chimay sighs. How you doin', Naruto? Better now that we have backup. You guys think that can? HRMMM. Shukaku grumbles. I don't think it can. Of course it can't be held by a weakling like this one. Kurama is as indignant as always. Boy, will you two knock it off? Naruto reprimands them. Sans moving. The ceiling pyramid bursts, revealing Hachiman with an absolutely furious expression. It seems to have healed from its injuries. It swings its banners sending Shukaku and Chimay flying to the side and charges at Kurama. As it does, it draws the bow, sending 3 arrows flying at each of them. Then 3 more. And another 3. It keeps firing them in quick succession, but a combination of Hinata's chakra spears and Shukaku's send stops them to the best of their abilities. We need to get rid of that bow. Shukaku sends sand to attack it from all sides. Chimay continues to be a nuisance from above, while Kurama takes care of the front, engaging with the fire blade. Hachiman finds itself in a more precarious position. It uses its free arms and bow to keep the other 2 at bay, while countering the blade with its glaive. Its movements are more precise than before, giving Naruto some trouble with dodging. They keep fighting like this, each swing of the glaive moving unnaturally. Like it doesn't matter where they are or how they dodge, the glaive finds its way to them. Until it finally dawns on them. It's not just the arrows that can follow them relentlessly. The glaive can, as well. Every Sharingan has unique abilities. Sasuke and Itachi's black flames, Kakashi-sensei and Obito's teleportation. Does his Sharingan have something similar? But it's not even the Mangekyo. Naruto sees an opening. With a combination of sand and tails holding back Hachiman's arm, he has the perfect chance to strike. Taking a precise swing, he cuts off 2 of Hachiman's right arms, sending them flying in the sand a fair distance away. The bow is also sent away. 2 of Hachiman's hands immediately clasp each other as they were in the beginning, but Naruto's swing forces it to move its hands. Last time you had your hands like that, you created that annoying glaive. Don't think I'll let you do it again. You do not have the ability to let us do anything. We are Hachiman. We. It's interrupted by Sekai expels from his mouth, and by extension Kurama's mouth, an extraordinarily large sea of white flames. Fire style, great fire annihilation. Seeing this, Naruto decides to add fuel. Sage art, toad oil bomb. As if it was possible, the Aku Rojin grows even hotter as he spews oil from Mount Myaboku into the fire. The intense flames grow more intense and expand, reaching a much larger area than before. The sand around them turns to glass. Before the flames can die down, the glaive flies from within them, impaling Shukaku who'd been standing guard to the side, keeping away from the front lines to keep a better idea of the battlefield and manipulate his sand accordingly. The glaive moved at a much greater speed than any of the arrows before and struck the Tanuki in the chest. He clutches the wound and tries to take out the weapon, but before he can do that, it begins moving. As the fire finally subsides, Hachiman stands firm. Wounded and angry. It flicks its wrist that holds the banner and the glaive moves accordingly, tearing at Shukaku's body before exiting the wound and flying back to its owner. Shukaku. Naruto calls out, worried. Hachiman plants both banners in the ground. Everyone falls to their knees. The pressure doesn't even begin to compare to before. They're all on their knees, struggling to keep themselves up despite still being protected by Kurama's chakra form. Guren, Naruto mutters. I'm trying. She tries to weave her chakra as she did before, but it's more difficult now. She's not sure if she can do it in time. Meanwhile, somewhere in the land of wind, a group of people stand over a sea of corpses. An entire town destroyed, everyone inside it dead. Civilians and shinobi line the ground surrounding as shattered crystals, remnants of red writing lining its 8 sides. One man in particular stands amidst the corpses. Spiky red hair reaching past his shoulders, giant axe as large as himself by his side. He's surrounded by shinobi, dressed the same way as him, green clothing and dark green flak jackets. Headbands of the hidden mountain village. All with hair of varying shades of red. My brothers and sisters, the man with the axe addresses the others, you will now witness one of the many secrets our ancestors were too afraid of. One of the many reasons we fell to ruin. Kaido Maru Uzumaki slams his hands on the ground. Ninja art summoning? Rashomon. Return to combat. We gave you warnings aplenty. You were given the choice to not oppose us, and yet you chose to stand against us in a futile attempt of bravery. Your entire bloodline is naught but insolence, Tamamo. We will take great pleasure in purging our land of your vile presence once. It stops talking, sensing something in the distance. That, can it be? It asks no one in particular. This presence, home, Hachiman grabs its banners and disappears from sight. Without a single word, without even finishing its boasting, or without even finishing them off. As if it even forgot what it was doing. Free from the pressure, Naruto drops Kurama's avatar form, and they all breathe heavily or coughing. Gurren looks around in a panic. What just happened? Why did it stop? I don't know. It said, home? Naruto looks for any trace of the entity, finding none. That means we're safe, right? Sekai stands up to his feet. It doesn't need our Akurojin anymore? Naruto gives Hinata a helping hand up. You okay? I'm fine. She had to immediately close her eyes, following the Tensagon's cancellation, but otherwise she's unhurt. We were as good as dead. Had it attacked us right then? Yeah. I dunno what happened, but it lost interest quick. We can't let our guard down. Gozu warns them. It may decide to return just as easily as it decided to leave. Gurren smiles warmly and kisses him on the forehead. Ever the worrier. But before we'll have to worry about that thing coming after us, there was someone else after us. She looks back to the two brothers. Sekai, still sitting on the ground, sighs. No, I think we're done. Not in the mood anymore. You can keep your head. Isa brushes the sand off his clothes. This has already been more than we ever bargained for. She scoffs. I'll believe when I see your backs leaving. Naruto makes his way to Shukaku. You alright? He gestures to the gaping wound. Ha! This is nothing for the great me. The Tanuki proudly proclaims. Chimei flies over and lightly pokes Shukaku on the belly with his tail, the Tanuki wincing in return. Not fine, aincha? I expected that from that blasted fox, but you too, Chimei? Don't go overdoing, K? Naruto chuckles. Maybe the people in town can heal you? He looks back to where they'd been staying for the past few days. We don't need help from humans. We'll just go before we cause a ruckus. Bye. Shukaku begins sliding across the sand, being in too much pain to move by himself. Ah, okay. Goodbye. Naruto waves. See ya. Chimei flies off, as well. With everything settling down for now, the group begins making their way back to town, as well. To discuss whatever it is that just happened and plan for the future. Back in town, before they get too far, Naruto and Hinata see Katori, Yakimaru, Shoto, and Yukimaru running towards them at full speed. Or at the very least, the full speed their current exhausted state can allow them to run. Naruto pats Katori on the head as she skids to a halt in front of him. Hey there, kiddo. You did it. You beat it. She sounds excited. Well. In a way. Did you not? Shoto tilts his head. It ran away. Hinata smiles at them. Sometimes it happens, you won't always defeat your foe. So, Yakimaru grips the seams of his clothes, it'll come back? Maybe. Maybe not. Naruto kneels down to be eye level with him. The important thing is, we know it's around, so we can prepare for it if it does. That's an important part of being a shinobi. Learning from your past experience. Next time we'll get it. He grins, which reassures Yakimaru. Were you all safe? Hinata asks. More than safe. We helped. Katori hops in place. Oh? They were a great help. A deep male voice calls to them from behind. They look up to see Sanjin and Teori walking toward them along with their respective parents. Sanjin's father nods as a greeting. Yukimaru immediately runs to hug Gurren and Gozu. Welcome back. He says, face buried in Gurren's vest. The two smile. We're back. You've found some fine students. Sanjin's father addresses Naruto and Hinata. We had help too. Katori grins to Teori, waving enthusiastically. Teori quickly whips her head to the side, looking away shyly, trying to hide a smile. Alright, let's go see if anything else needs doing. Naruto stands up and begins making his way further into the village. What? Gurren looks at him in disbelief. All of that wasn't enough for you? He looks back to her. It's not about enough. The town needs help. She shakes her again. You're so, she trails off. Gozu takes her hand in his much larger hand. We should help too. This is our home, after all. Yukimaru looks up to her. Yeah. She smiles. I suppose it is. Gurren. Gozu. An unfamiliar voice calls to them. Everyone looks around to see the area swarmed with Anbu on the rooftops and behind corners, wearing the uniforms of both the Hidden Leaf and Hidden Sand. You're coming with us. A woman steps forward. Cat-like mask with a red vertical stripe on the forehead and a horizontal stripe on each cheek, long purple hair swaying in the wind. The kids press closer to each other. Ha! Sekai chuckles. Sometimes sweeping in on our mark. Not on our mark anymore. Isa corrects him. Naruto steps in front of them. What do you want with them? This doesn't concern you, Naruto Uzumaki. The purple-haired woman speaks. Naruto scowls. You don't tell me what concerns me. Naruto, don't. Gurren places a hand on his shoulder. Don't get into trouble with your people. Naruto keeps his eyes focused on the Anbu. And why exactly do you need them, huh? Naruto. She extends her hand trying to calm him. Please step away from them. We'll apprehend the criminals and take them into custody. No. Go home. He declares. Please don't make this more difficult than it needs to be. I think there's something you're not getting here. Naruto steps forward and gets in the Anbu's face. Mask. We just fought a ridiculously powerful thing that wouldn't have been possible without Gurren and Gozu. You couldn't have gotten here without seeing the battle, so I'm assuming you just hid and waited for the real fight to finish because you knew you couldn't be of any help. He pauses and looks at all of them. Your job's to stop criminals, right? Well, they've stopped. They're no longer with Orochimaru, they're no longer doing anything that needs your attention. So go home and tell Granite Sanada and Gaara that they're wasting their time. He turns to one Anbu in particular who has his hand on his sword. And you. Put that sword back, or I'll put it somewhere else. I'm seriously not in a good mood right now. He unleashes his chakra. A sensation unlike anything they've ever felt, a sensation worthy of one who channels the incarnation of hatred. Their knees buckle from the killing intent their way. He stops once he hears a yelp from behind and sees Katori hiding behind Hinata, who simply shakes her head pleading him to stop. He does. The female Anbu straightens herself. They're under my protection. Naruto adds. One of the Hidden Sand Anbu steps forward and removes his mask, a normally forbidden gesture. The man has a veil covering the left side of his face and two fang-like markings under his right eye. Naruto vaguely remembers him from the Chunin exams long ago. I believe the hero of the war can be given some leeway, no? Baki addresses the joint Anbu. If you so wish, Naruto Uzumaki, we can leave these two in your care. Let them be your responsibility. All I ask is that they come with you to the Hidden Sand and we can talk there about their future. Peacefully. He turns to the Leaf Anbu. Would that be agreeable for you? She glances back to two of her team in particular. A man with gray hair tied in a side ponytail and several kunai strapped to his thigh and a woman with her blonde hair kept up by 6 needles. They seem to come to a wordless agreement. Very well. We'll leave it to the Kazekage for now. She looks to Naruto. And to you. Naruto consults Gurren and Gozu. Is that fine with you? They share a look. Not like we have much of a choice, do we? We've been had. But if it's with you, we'll go. Peacefully. She makes it a point to add, looking at Baki. Then we're done here. Naruto walks past the Leaf Anbu, followed very reluctantly by the rest of his group. Baki approaches the Leaf Shinobi. Thank you for Ajur. Don't talk to me. Yugao cuts him off and leaves with her team. Right. Of course. End of chapter 31. Chapter 32. Hidden Sand Convergence. Part 6. Despite saving the town and chasing away the being known as Hachiman, the group still was reprimanded. Endangering civilian lives, destruction of property, fighting within town premises. They were handed a hefty fine, which was slightly lessened for their assistance. Naruto and Hinata and the Miyashis were able to pay it off just fine, having the funds for it, although the Leaf Shinobi would have this incident on their records. Gurren and Gozu, on the other hand, are in a bit of a bind as they do not have the ability to pay. On their way out of the building where they were reprimanded, Naruto makes an offer. "We could pay it for you, you know." "As if I'd take your money, you fool." Gurren waves it off. "We got into this mess, we'll get out of it. Somehow." Gozu nods. "We've already inconvenienced you enough. It was largely our fault, as well." Hinata looks apologetically. "We never noticed Amiyashi's tailing us." "Of course not, we professionals." Sekai boasts. "Besides, you were acting kinda suspicious, hero. So we tailed you just in case." Naruto grumbles. "It's fine." Gurren sighs. "We'll think of something. Although our lives won't be the same anymore." Gozu adds. "We'll deal with that too." When they make their way outside, they don't get too far before they're stopped by a group of townsfolk. Gurren and Gozu tense up. Their cover's blown. They've lost their home. Just as they'd finally settled down and started a life for themselves, just as they'd gotten comfortable. Should have known better. One man takes a step forward and extends his hand, revealing a pouch. Gurren looks confused. "We heard 'bout what happened. Heard you were in trouble, so we pitched in what we could." Gurren looks even more confused. "Well, what are you talking about?" A woman from the group answers. "You have a fine to pay, don't you?" "We just wanted to help." Everyone nods in agreement. "But you said you heard what happened. You know I've been lying to you all this time. We're wanted criminals." She lowers her head, face hidden by her bangs. Her breath becomes shallow and she can feel her emotions overwhelm her. "Maybe, but you're also our friends." Another woman speaks up. "You've helped us a lot these past months. Helped manage our lands, helped with our kids. I'll be honest, we were scared when we first heard." A tall man steps up. "Was angry we were lied to, but you've had your reasons for it, I'm sure, and you two have never wronged us. Then we remember how you've treated Yukimaru, and that's not something you can fake easily. Figure, what's past is past." The man holding the pouch of money takes another step. "Please, take it." Gurren reaches over with her shaking hand, placing it over the pouch, but not taking it yet. "The shinobi have been talking lately. About bandits who just up and disappeared when they were nearby. That was you too, wasn't it? Keeping us safe." Gurren nods in response. "Thank you." The man smiles. Gozu comes by Gurren's side and wraps an arm around her in a hug, his other hand clasping over Gurren's as they take the pouch. "Thank you." Naruto and Hinata smile at the display. Isa nods. A good end to it all. That's one way to put it. Sekai continues walking past the gathering to the local inn. Meanwhile in town. While the adults were getting reprimanded, the kids have actually been hard at work. They volunteered to help out with some minor cleanup duty, not being allowed to do anything more strenuous. Carrying lighter items to and fro, delivering orders and supplies. Katori in particular is handling most of the deliveries, using her conjured birds to help her, with Yukimaru eagerly helping her. Shoto is using his earth style to help, where he could to even the ground or raise support, with Yakimaru being delegated to a similar position. Sanjin, Teori, and their parents are also around and keeping an eye on them, while their parents' parental figures are being reprimanded. Sanjin's family may have retired from active duty, but they're still genin of the hidden sand. That's not something you can just stop. With their chakra strings, normally used for puppetry, they can lift some heavier objects up with some difficulty. Sanjin can't lift anything like bricks or beams of wood, but something lighter is completely within his capabilities. Teori, meanwhile, has her trusty binding cloth which she's been using to wrap around items and lift them for the workers. Her cloth isn't that large, it's similar in size to Sekai's wrappings, but made of much lighter material and are clearly not as strong or durable, but this is how much she can control at her current level. In the distance, Maki has also been going around making sure work is being done and helping out herself on the rare occasion. From the roof of one building, she spots Teori trying to lift a pile of bricks with a cloth that's too heavy for her to lift, but she keeps trying regardless, putting a strain on herself and her cloth. Maki flickers over just as Teori lets it slip, the different bricks scattering and falling to the ground. The Jonin sends her cloth and creates a cushion, collecting them gently before wrapping them in the cloth and lifting them all up. I'm sorry." Teori lowers her head. "It's all right. Just be careful next time, all right?" Maki kneels down to reassure the girl. While there, she does get a closer look at the cloth. She takes it in her hands, rubbing it between her fingers to get a feel for the texture. This is thinner than normal. Teori's shoulders stiffen. "Mom and Dad couldn't get a better one." she says in a meek voice, but then lifts her gaze to look at Maki. In a panicked voice she says, but when I become a shinobi, they said they'll get a proper binding cloth. I won't. I won't make a mistake again. Oh? So you want to be a shinobi, huh? Teori nods in confirmation. Maki smiles and takes out one of her scrolls. She lays it out on the roof and slams her palm on the markings, getting something out of storage, a slightly bigger scroll. It's not as big as the one she usually carries on her back, but it's of similar design and make. Why don't you use this for now? Teori looks it over. Is this a binding cloth? It is. Use it instead, alright? And when we get back home, find me. We can work on your technique. Maki winks and goes to help elsewhere. Teori looks at the cloth, mouth agape. I promise I'll give it back in one piece. She declares. About that. Give it back when you become a full-fledged shinobi, alright? It's yours until then. Teori stares and tightly clutches onto her cloth, hugging it with both arms. Some time later. Eventually, they all make their way to that same inn, the Miyashi brothers already sitting at a table and nursing their drinks. The other four sit down with them after ordering their own drinks, and Sekai leans back in his chair. So, you wanted to talk, hero? You know exactly about what? You said your father's in Uzumaki. Yeah, what of it? You want a big all-family reunion or something? Sekai remains dismissive. Brother. Sekai sighs. Fine. Listen, you heard that thing out there, didn't you? It was out for you too, it was out for Tamamo's descendants. The Uzumaki clan. We don't know where it went or ultimately what it even wants. You still aren't safe, none of us are. But if we work together, Isa leans forward, in contrast to his elder brother. I understand your concerns, but the Miyashi clan is not one to accept help. I don't know how much you know about us, but we're one of the few clans to not officially be part of a hidden village. We're affiliated with the Land of Wind, but that's it. We've maintained this stance through multiple wars and smaller conflicts, and that's not about to change. But you're members of the Uzumaki clan. And of the Miyashi clan. We were born Miyashi, raised as Miyashi, by Miyashi. That's not going to change. Your concern is noted and appreciated, but our clan won't change the life we've fought decades for. Naruto lowers his head. Right, sorry. That was inconsiderate of me. But, still, do you think I could at least talk to your father? I promise I won't bother him with it, I just want to ask what he knows about the Uzumaki clan. Afraid that's not possible. Sekai takes a swig of his drink. He died years ago. Oh. I didn't know, I'm sorry. Don't be. He shrugs. Man died where he spent most of his life. Home? Naruto guesses. No. Inside a woman. Guren spits her drink and has a coughing fit. What? Oh, yeah, he was our father in name only, really. Stayed with our mom long enough to have us two, then moved on. We have like a dozen half-siblings that we know of, probably more we don't know of. So he died, Hinata trails off. While trying to make us another half-sibling, yeah. Got a heart attack in the middle of it. Sekai looks over to his brother. But he still managed to give us one, right? Isa nods. Kuri, 14 years old. He's like a ghost baby. Sekai laughs. Don't call him that. He's a good kid, from what I've heard. How old was he when he died? Guren can't help but ask. Isa racks his brain. In his hundreds, I believe. He was in his 80s when he fathered us. Right. Naruto shakes that information off. Well, listen, if something ever comes up, call on the Hidden Leaf. Someone I know is gathering remnants of the Uzumaki clan, trying to get everyone together in the same place, but he doesn't have contact with everyone, and he's lost contact with some. Isa nods. We'll get in touch, should the need arise. But don't count on it. Sekai finishes his drink and slams his mug on the table. Now, if that's all, we best be off. Going already? Naruto looks between the two of them. We gotta make up for lost time and money. You got no idea how expensive it was to track down these two. Sekai motions to Guren and Gozu, and now we had to pay even more on top of it, with nothing in return. We have a reputation to keep. He stands up and heads for the door. Isa rises, as well, but gives a light bow to them. Until we meet again. When the two of them leave, the remaining four reposition themselves on the table to not be so clustered together and sit with more breathing space. They order some more drinks, with Guren especially getting the most alcoholic beverage they have. Not long after, the kids all rush in, once again making the table barely fitting everyone, but they manage. "Suo, we're gonna stay here for now?" Katori asks, looking around. The ground floor is a tavern, but the stairs at the back lead up the multi-storied building, where there are rooms for any weary travelers. "Yeah. Since the barracks got wrecked in the blast, we'll be here till we finish our mission. You three behave in your room, alright?" Hinata warns. "We're not the only ones here, so be mindful." "Understood," they say in unison. "I know Yakimaru and I can be mindful, but..." Shoto only glances over to Katori, taking an unusually long sip from his juice. "What's that supposed to mean, She leans on the table, squinting her eyes at him. "If you don't know, I won't tell you." "I know what you mean, I was just being..." She clasps her hands over her mouth, realizing she'd begun to raise her voice. Shoto smirks. "See?" Katori grumbles. Yakimaru tries to play mediator, while the rest of them laugh at the display. After some time of small talk with the occasional silence, Gurren brings up an elephant in the room. "So, what's to happen to us when we go to the hidden sand?" Naruto rubs his head. "Well, I'll try to talk Gaara into letting you guys go, and hopefully we can get Granny Tsunade on the same page, and then..." He pauses to look at Yakimaru. "I was thinking, if you'd agree to come to the hidden leaf." Gurren raises a brow while Gozu keeps his usually stoic expression. Yukimaru is over the moon at the prospect. "Can we, Gurren? Then, we can all be together." "I don't know. Going to a hidden village, especially the leaf, after everything that happened, I told you I'd talk with them. I'll make whatever arrangements are needed. You guys have spent a lot of time running and hiding, I figure it's maybe time to stop, you know? You've been through a lot, you deserve to leave in peace." Gurren looks at him, then to Yukimaru, and then to Yakimaru. She'd spent so long relying on herself and trying to rise to the top of the ladder. When her mother died at such a young age, when she was taken under Orochimaru's wing, she'd practically given up leading an ordinary life. It was always about overcoming adversity and never trusting anyone. Then Yukimaru and Gozu came along and gave her hope once again. She found people to love and a place to call home. A family. And now her real family has resurfaced in Naruto's student. It almost seems too good to be true, like she's being tested before everything gets snatched away again. She takes a lot at Yakimaru. Her cousin has been silent, but she can see his demeanor, face lowered, tense shoulders. He obviously wants to say something but is worried. Maybe he doesn't want to come off as pushy. She seemed kind of meek. She sighs. "Yeah, alright. If your hidden leaf will take us in, then we'll come with." Yakimaru lifts his head, a bright smile on his face. Gurren's guess was right, he did want to say something. "Then we can be like a family, right? Not like, kid. We are a family." She pats the silver-haired boy on the head and turns to Yukimaru. "Guess you better get used to having him as an uncle." She chuckles. "Uncle?" Yukimaru tilts his head. "Yeah, he's my first cousin, so that makes him your uncle, even though you're older." Yukimaru chuckles nervously. "That might get a bit confusing." "Yeah, well, we'll have time to figure it out, yeah." She smiles. Later. That evening, Naruto and Hinata go to their room, while the kids go to theirs. Gurren's household is still intact as it was far enough away from the blast, but it's nowhere near enough to house extra people. With Naruto sitting on the couch, Hinata is lying on her side snuggling against his shoulder. "It's nice to have quiet. It feels like these disasters keep following us." He chuckles, rubbing her shoulder. "I think they are. But we keep winning, and we'll keep doing it till we have to. And the kids. They really stepped up, despite their inexperience. It's only been so long, but they've grown a great deal." She giggles. "I'm really proud of them." "Yeah, me too. I can't imagine these past few months without them. I'm glad things turned out as they did. That said, it is nice to get a few evenings to ourselves." He leans down to kiss the top of her head. She moves to look up to him, a knowing smile on her lips. "Oh. Were you thinking of something in particular?" She slides up from her lying position, pressing herself against his arm. "I might have an idea or two." "Only two?" She turns over and straddles him. She places her arms to rest on his shoulder, very deliberately pressing her breasts tighter together right in front of him. Naruto is caught completely off guard. The meek and dignified Hinata is now showing a side he'd never seen and never even imagined he'd see from her. More confident and even sultry, even her voice and tone has nothing in common with before. He wasn't about to start complaining. She leans down and passionately kisses him. She runs her fingers through his hair, pulling on his golden locks. He runs his hands over her back, from her shoulders inching lower and lower until he reaches her lower, where he moves his hands under her shirt. He then moves his hands up to remove the cloth that's getting in the way. It's then that their moment is interrupted by a voice by the window. They hastily spring from their position, but it takes them a moment to get their bearings given what moment was interrupted. They were so absorbed in it, they never sensed anyone there. As they take defensive stance, they understand why they didn't hear this person. By the window stands a man, his clothes obscured by a heavy brown cloak. A sash tied around his head keeps his black hair at bay, letting his hair frame his face, falling under his chin, with a single strand of hair fall between his eyes. One black, one gray. Sasuke. Naruto cries out in surprise. Hinata turns beet red, steam practically fuming from her head. What are you doing here? I heard you were here, so, he looks between the two of them. This might be the first time Naruto has seen him flustered. I think I should go? I should go. No, wait, Naruto looks between him and Hinata, who's now covered her face with both hands in embarrassment and is sitting on the couch trying to hide. Naruto sighs and hangs his head. I think there's no need. Why are you here? Naruto joins him out on the balcony. Sasuke points to the sky. The Sharingan in the sky. I came to investigate it, but by the time I got here, it was already gone. Then I found out you're here and had a hand in defeating some creature connected to it. Naruto grumbles and scratches his head. This might take a while. He goes on to explain to Sasuke what he knows. About the seal placed by the Uzumaki's predecessor, that it had the Sharingan, and how it fought, that it mentioned abilities related to the Mangekyo, that it mentioned home. I see. Sasuke scratches his chin. So it mentioned Amaterasu by name. And Shisui Uchiha's Kotomatsukami. I've never heard of this take Mikazuchi, though, but it's highly likely it's another ability of the Mangekyo. And it spoke of them, as if they were people? Finally having calmed down, Hinata joins them on the balcony, cheeks still reddened. That's right, and it seemed greatly displeased with them. I believe you may not be safe either, Sasuke, if it hates Amaterasu so much. Then I'll deal with it should it come after me. Don't underestimate it, Sasuke. Naruto warns. This thing, it wasn't normal. It felt like the more we hit it, the stronger it got. We hit it with fire that rivals your Amaterasu, strengthened by oil from Mount Myoboku, and T still showed more power than it did before. I don't know what it is, but it's like nothing we've faced so far. I'll keep it in mind. Thanks for the warning. He nods. I'll be in town for a while longer. I'd like to see this prism it came out of, if possible. I'll talk to Maki about it. Sasuke turns to leave for the evening. Before he hops out, he looks back to them. Sorry for interrupting. And he flickers away. Hinata's face turns red again and squeaks in embarrassment once again. I guess we should just go to bed, huh? She nods stiffly. The following day, Sasuke meets everyone. New and old faces. First, he encounters the old faces. Purely by chance, mind you, but he found himself passing Gurren on the street. They both had to do a double take, barely recognizing the other. Gurren immediately goes into a panicked state of defense. What the hell are you doing here? She demands. She almost lets out a burst of crystal style, but remembers what happened the last time she did that. People seem to be asking me that a lot. I'm passing by, on my way to meet Naruto. What are you doing here? None of your business. She takes a long hard look at him. She looks into his eyes, as unadvised as that is when facing an Uchiha. Her mind goes back to when she first met him. Cold, almost dead eyes that never look at you, seemingly focused on something in the distance. Uncaring. These eyes, however, are anything but. This time he's actually looking at her, and not through her. This time he seems to be attentive. You really have changed. I suppose. A lot's happened since we met last. Yukimaru walks up to him and tugs on his cloak. It's because you found someone thinking about you, huh? Heh. His lips curl into a light smile, something Gurren thought to be impossible. I suppose I did. Looks like you have, too, huh? MHM. The boy nods excitedly. I'm glad. He turns around and walks away. I suppose we'll be seeing each other a bit. Gurren watches in stunned silence. She whips around to Gozu. That was weird, right? I wouldn't know. I've never met him. Sasuke continues to where he'd been told to meet, at the temporary quarters for the Hidden Sand Shinobi. There, he's led by some Chunin and Jonin who'd been warned of his arrival to the site where the prism is kept. He steps inside a room to find Naruto and Hinata already there, but a few other people as well, one being a hidden sand jonin with a large scroll strapped to her back. 3 kids are about in the room, visibly about 7 or 8 years olds. A girl with a brown ponytail in a sleeveless kimono shirt. A boy with unruly white hair and red eyes, wearing a hoodie. Another boy wearing a full kimono attire held together by a yellow belt and black hair tied in a traditional topknot, chonmage. Oddly enough, there's also 2 small toads. One with graying hair and another with puffy purple hair. Well, Naruto, my boy, you were right. Fukasaku is intently focusing on the ground around him. I can still feel natural energy coming out of it, but it's faint. Shima looks around. It's diminishing at a slow rate, but it's still around. Maki appears worried. So does that mean the soil around won't produce as much as it used to? Ha, don't look down on natural energy, girly. Shima dismisses her. I said it's diminishing, not disappearing. If these things have existed for as long as we think, then the natural energy they've been releasing will stay around long after we're all gone and dead. You don't have to worry about a thing. Fukasaku nods in agreement. It won't be as potent as before, since the source is gone, but it's been around for so long that the area has become naturally enriched. It might affect the quality of your produce, but I don't think you'll notice much of a change. Maki breathes a sigh of relief. That's so good to hear. Thank you for looking into it. She bows deeply. No need for that. Naruto asked for a favor, so how could we refuse? Fukasaku smiles. And besides, we have a bit of an interest in this ourselves, as it involves natural energy. You said there's a pond nearby, right? We'll connect it to our well back home, so we can come check up more often, make sure nothing goes wrong. That would be incredibly helpful, thank you. Maki bows again. Ah, stop that. Seriously, listen to your elders when they tell you something. Alright, Naruto, if that's all, we'll head back home for now. Yeah, that's all. Thanks a lot. With that, the toads disappear in a puff of smoke, which Sasuke sees as an opportunity to make his presence known. He steps forward, looking at the shattered prism, parts ranging from as big as a hand to as small as an ant, but they're here. Ah, there you are. Naruto calls over. Sasuke only nods in acknowledgement, his eyes focusing on examining the remnants of chakra present in the keystone. After a moment of awkward silence, Maki speaks. So, you're the Sasuke Uchiha? Heard a lot about you. Probably not a lot of good. She shrugs. You'd be surprised. I don't suppose you know anything about this seal or the creature that was in it. Unfortunately not. It's come to my attention that there's a lot I don't know about the Sharingan. Whatcha mean? Naruto cocks his head. I'll tell you everything another time. I'd like to be sure of some things before I get into it. Okay? Katori approaches, with the boys having been to the side of the room until now. Dad, is that the friend you mentioned? She asks in a quiet voice, but still clearly audible. Sasuke has a delayed reaction. Wait, what did you say? He furrows his brows at the young girl. Ah, yeah, I guess we didn't tell ya. Naruto motions to the young girl by his side. This is Katori, Hinata and I kind of adopted her a few months ago. And these are Yakimaru and Shoto. They're our apprentices, I suppose? Naruto awaits some kind of reaction, similar to what he got back in the leaf. Feel free to say you don't see me in the role. Sasuke observes how Katori acts around Naruto. She feels safe and at ease around him, that much is clear. You'd think these two have known each other for years. No. It actually suits you well. Hinata smiles. You truly are a different person from before. Well, I was hardly given much of a choice. You know how he is. She chuckles in response. Truly. Sasuke whips around and begins walking for the exit without any sort of warning. I've seen what I can with my Rinnegan. I'll be off. Boy, hold on. You can't just walk out right away. At least stay for a day more when our mission ends. We can catch up. He stops and thinks. He's been on the road for a good while now. Might not be a bad idea to slow down. Sure. He still leaves the room, out to do whatever he pleases. For the remainder of their stay, they all meet up and talk of what they've done and lived through until this point that brought them all together. Naruto and Hinata talking of their meeting with the kids and the fights against the great beasts, Gurren and Gozu, of their time living a normal life in town, and Sasuke of this travels around the different lands. The kids in particular are intrigued to hear about Naruto's friend and what kind of person he is, although they don't quite get the entire story quite yet. Maybe another day. When the time comes for Naruto and Hinata to leave, Sasuke does, as well, taking off in the opposite direction to chase after whatever information he needs to find. The same group that got to town is now leaving it with an additional 3 passengers and an escort of Hidden Sand Anbu. Hidden Sand Village. Over in the Hidden Sand, things go as smoothly as they can. Gaara sat down with Baki and Kankuro and they listened to Naruto's explanation of Guren's situation, past and current. Naruto also relays the possibility of Guren, Gozu, and Yukimaru living in the Hidden Leaf and becoming official citizens, working to pay off for everything they'd done in the past. By the end of the explanation, Gaara nods. I understand. I will speak with the Hokage and ensure a smooth transition for them. Wait, Guren has a questioning look. Just like that? You don't need to ask us any questions? I have heard what I require. Naruto's word goes a long way, and if he's put his faith in you, then I've no reason to doubt his judgment. You will still remain under watch for the duration of your stay here, for safety concerns, but otherwise you are free to do as you wish. Naruto grins. See? I told you we'd talk things out. Now we just sit back and relax. Well, you still have missions you have to go on for the next 2 months. Kankuro reminds him. If that is all, I will begin making the necessary arrangements. Gaara gives a light bow and signals them they're free to leave. Whenever you're free, call me for a drink, yeah. Naruto moves his hand to simulate drinking from a cup. Gaara gives a light smile. I certainly will. Once the door is closed and Kankuro and Baki are certain the others are out of earshot, they turn to their Kazekage. You sure about agreeing so readily? Kankuro asks. We must still remain cautious, Lord Kazekage. We can't be certain what that woman would do, given the unpredictable nature of her crystal style. Gaara remains silent for a moment, looking over a document he'd prepared well in advance. In truth, he'd already partially come to a decision before Naruto even returned, but hearing his friend's words reassured him. I must commend you, Baki. Even with such concerns, the initial report you sent via Messenger Hawks was very impartial. Ah, well, naturally. Baki is caught off guard. I must present to you the facts so you can be aware of the situation, but as the head of Anbu and a member of the council, it's also my duty to advise you and express my personal concerns. Gaara nods. And they have been noted. He begins writing on the scroll in front of him. However, I'm sure you knew what my decision would be the moment you made the offer to Naruto when you first encountered them with the Hidden Leaf Anbu. He keeps talking while displaying perfect calligraphy. I'm well aware of her bounty and the reasons for it, however, he pauses to look outside. The Hidden Sand can be described as dull in many ways, but it's still home and holds a certain charm that might not be as easily visible to an outsider. Had things turned out differently, then I too may have ended up hunted. I stand where I am because I was given a second chance by many people, and I plan to return that trust in kind. If this Guren has repented, then I wish her all the best. If she has not, then she will face her punishment at the hands of the Hidden Leaf. I understand. Heh. Guess we were worried about nothing. Kankuro laughs. Hidden Leaf Village. Over the next 1-2 weeks, Gaara enters a correspondence with Tsunade, explaining the situation, although she'd already heard the details from Yugao and her team and thought it might come to this. She begins the process on her end of getting Guren, Gozu, and Yukimaru citizenship, but there'd be some stipulations they'd have to follow. More so Guren and Gozu, since Yukimaru is innocent and has no bounty on his head. For one, they'd be watched by Anbu for safety concerns until the Hidden Leaf can rest assured that they have indeed changed. They'd also have to work to pay off their bounties. They can be taken off the bingo book, but only once they prove themselves, and while under observation, they'd be kept safe. That would involve joining the ranks of the Hidden Leaf as shinobi, once again only working under carefully selected teams to keep an eye on them. Guren and Gozu themselves agree to whatever requirements the Hidden Leaf has to feel safe. Most of them are reasonable and within what they expected, anyway. With that, their joining the Hidden Village is set, and they will finalize the process in 2 months' time when they leave the Hidden Sand with Naruto. Hidden Sand Village. About a month into their stay in the Hidden Sand, Gaara one day calls Naruto and Hinata into his office. A part of them is slightly worried as this isn't the usual social call. They've visited plenty of times, both in their capacity as shinobi and as friends. This sounds different. When they enter, they see Gaara sitting at a large table, surrounded by a group of around 24 people he doesn't recognize. most of them with hair of varying shades of red. Confused, Naruto steps into the room. You wanted to see us?" Gahi stops, recognizing they're in a more formal setting. "Lord Kazekage?" "Yes, I did. Or perhaps I should say," Gaara turns to the group around the room. "They did. And they are?" "I was informed by Lady Hokage of the recent activity of the Hidden Leaf. In particular one Awaji Uzumaki, who I'm told you're familiar with." Naruto nods in confirmation. "Yeah? His intention to bring back the Uzumaki clan under the banner of the Hidden Leaf. I myself was never aware, nor were any of the Hidden Sand Council, or so they tell me, but I sent out word around the village." "You mean?" Hinata looks around. "These people are..." One man steps toward Naruto, a fairly large man with red hair flowing down past his cheeks. "Naruto Uzumaki? I've heard of your exploits," he motions to the room, "all of us have. And we heard recently what happened with the Prism Keystones. We were brought together by tales of your bravery and great deeds, motivated to come out of hiding." "Ah, right." Naruto stares. He's aware of what the man's about to say, but his mind can't entirely process it yet. Maybe once he hears the actual words, he'll snap out of it. "My name is Kyoto. It's a name I've gone by for as long as I've been a refugee here, but my real name is Kyoto Uzumaki." Nope, he still can't wrap his mind around it. "And everyone else is too?" Kyoto nods. "Many of us are refugees who came here after the Hidden Whirlpool was destroyed. We formed families, had kids, lived our lives. But now," he looks back to his companions. "We all spoke amongst each other, and we spoke with Lord Kazekage to receive his permission. We would like to once again stand with the Uzumaki clan. This is unbelievable. I never would have thought, but are you sure? You've lived here for years. Are you sure you want to leave it all behind?" Kyoto chuckles. "Are you trying to dissuade us? I would have thought you'd try to recruit us instead." "Ah, no. I'm just still in shock, is all. We're all certain. We've spoken with our families about this. We'd like to return to our roots, even if slightly." He smiles, and the men and women behind him nod in agreement. "This is what we want, Naruto Uzumaki. They have my blessing." Gaara speaks up from his seat. "All they need is yours." "I mean, yeah. Of course. We're gonna need all the help we can get, especially right now." "So we've heard." Kyoto extends a hand. "I look forward to working with you." Naruto takes it and they shake hands. "And I with you." Naruto remains for a while longer and meets every single one of them, the ones born Uzumaki and the ones married to the Uzumaki. He tries to commit every single name to memory, although it may take a while. Hinata takes notes for him so he can reread them later. He stays and listens to their stories, their lives, their experiences, and he in turn shares his own. It's agreed that once Tsunade and Elder Awaji fully finish preparations, the Uzumaki clan will officially reform and begin operating in the Hidden Leaf. He does learn that there are those who decided against it and chose to remain in the Hidden Sand, and he fully intends to respect their decision. It would go against everything he stands for to force others into doing what they don't want to. Naruto would meet up with them for the remainder of his stay to talk more with them. Gurren POV. One of the main reasons Gurren decided to stay with Naruto's group is Yakimaru, to teach him as much as she can about their shared ability and the limitless possibilities it holds, as well as the dangers. The kids have all been brought to a training area large enough where they're free to do whatever they find a need for. The kids are sitting on the ground listening intently to Gurren, with Naruto and Hinata sitting on some rocks by her side. Shoto is the first to ask a burning question. "If this is about the crystal style, why are we also here?" Katori nods, having thought the same thing. "Well, you guys are gonna be a team, right?" Naruto answers. "It's important to know what your teammates can do so you can work better together. Learn the full extent of each other's abilities and you'll be unstoppable." "Perhaps not entirely unstoppable," Hinata corrects him, sweat bead dropping down her forehead at his enthusiasm, "but it is important to know what you're all capable of." "So," Gurren begins, "what do you kids know about Kekkei Genkai?" Katori raises her arm enthusiastically. "Oh, I know. It's a special ability that usually only people from a certain bloodline can do, like Mom's Byakugan, or my Aviary, or Yakimaru's crystal style." Gurren nods. "You're right up to a point. Kekkei Genkai are powerful abilities that go beyond what ordinary shinobi can do. But the crystal style is not one of them." "It's not?" Katori tilts her head. "Then what is it?" Hinata turns to Gurren. It's true, I've never heard of the crystal style before or since then, but surely it's a bloodline limit. I did a bit of snooping around Orochimaru's labs and found some research he'd done on my abilities. The crystal style isn't a Kekkei Genkai, it's a Kekkei Tota. A bloodline selection, not a bloodline limit. A Kekkei Tota. Hinata jumps from her spot. But that's, Lord Tsuchikage is the only person known to have a bloodline selection, and you're saying your ability is the same? No, it checks out. Naruto interjects, remaining oddly calm. I've seen both Old Man Inoki's dust style and Guren's crystal style in action firsthand. They're both super deadly in their own way. So, it's a really impressive ability? Yakimeru looks between the adults. More than impressive, kid. Honestly, I'm surprised you're able to do a crystal wall so well with so little training. A Kekkei Tota is incredibly difficult to master. Took me ages to get the hang of my crystal style. A nature transformation Kekkei Genkai takes two elements to make a new one, like earth and fire to make lava. A nature transformation Kekkei Tota uses three. We in particular combine earth, fire, and water to form crystal. Yakimeru nods intently, listening to her every word. Our Kekkei Tota, it doesn't just create crystals, it crystallizes its surroundings. You turn water into crystals, or the ground, or even the moisture in the air. She demonstrates by forming a crystal blade on her forearm. But it can also crystallize people. She warns with deadly seriousness. If you use this on a person, you can crystallize their entire body, right down to their blood, and they die instantly. As Naruto said, it's deadly. Yakimeru gulps. Then, it's good I never used it on anyone, there are ways around it. We can't crystallize lightning or fire. That's why the Miyashi brother was a particularly bad matchup for me. Or you can apparently coat your body in chakra like Hinata here did. Wait, you tried to crystallize mom? Katori raises a brow. We have a complicated history. Hinata tries not to answer. But you don't need to worry about what happened, we're good now. Guren steps up to stand in front of her cousin. Basically, I just needed you to know that this ability of ours is. It's not a walk in the park, and it can be dangerous if used poorly, but if used wisely, it will be your greatest ally and an invaluable part of your team's arsenal. She extends her hand to him. Are you ready to train it wisely? Yakimeru breathes in and grasps her hand, a firm look in his eyes. Yes, ma'am. All right. She pulls him up to his feet. And don't call me ma'am. Ah, sorry. Yakimeru's training consists of a lot of practice with the crystal style, while Katori and Shoto practice on the other sides of the field, along with Naruto and Hinata. The main thing Shoto has to focus on is his Shorin martial art and strengthening his earth-style ninjutsu, even though he primarily uses the body-enhancing earth spear to make his fighting style even deadlier. He practices relentlessly against Naruto's frog kata and Hinata's gentle fist, primarily focusing on that with some time dedicated to other earth style to increase his arsenal. Katori's training focuses on general taijutsu, but also using and getting used to her aviary. The speed at which she can summon them, their duration, their strength and durability. In between practice, she also visits the messenger's station where, as Kankuro promised, she's allowed to get closer with the messenger hawks. Watch them fly, pet them, get to know more about their habits and lifestyle, and even gets the chance to witness chicks hatching from their eggs and being cared for by the parents. By the end of their stay here, she's able to summon a sand hawk, which quickly proves to be faster than any other bird she has. When not doing their individual training, they also focus a lot more on kunai and shuriken. They've handled them previously, but the focus has always been on other parts. This time, they spend much more time to using weapons that don't rely on chakra. They do also spend time hanging out with Sanjin and Teori, who they'd become much closer with over time. Teori still acts indignant, especially toward Katori, but she's secretly the one who suggests to Sanjin that they visit and play or train together with the Leaf Kids. That's something Sanjin has promised to take to his grave. The two sometimes join in on the training sessions with Naruto or Hinata. Speaking of those two, they don't slack off either. As per their mission, they continue to do missions for the Hidden Sand, being teamed up with teams from the village and occasionally even teaming up with shinobi from other villages who are on the same mission as them. Nothing exciting happens during the following 2 months' worth of mission, or at least nothing that matches the fight. When the mission at the Hidden Sand village comes to an end and the time finally arrives for them to part ways, everyone comes out to say their farewells at the front gate. Guren, Gozu and Yukimari will set out for the Hidden Leaf with a group of sand shinobi, led by none other than Temari. Naruto, Hinata, and their pupils will instead head directly for the Hidden Mist. Thank you for everything, Naruto. The Kazekage extends a hand. Naruto readily returns it. Years ago, he was uncertain how precisely to act around Gaara, but the two have grown closer with time and through adversity. Of course. We'll see each other again soon, alright? Gaara smiles. Naturally. He then turns to Hinata. And of course, thank you, as well. She bows back. We're merely doing our jobs, Lord Kazekage. Please? Just Gaara. We needn't stand on formalities. Kyoto Uzumaki is also present to bid farewell. We will meet again soon, as one clan. Until then. Naruto gives a firm handshake. To the side, the kids are saying their goodbyes to Sanjin and Teori, with Katori being as overzealous as always, pulling the two sand kids in a hug. Ah, let go. Teori protests. What's even with you? Let go. Katori takes her time releasing them. As she does, Sanjin has a slight blush, at which Teori puffs her cheeks and kicks his leg. Ow. Sanjin winces. Shoto steps to them. Next we meet, we're probably going to be rivals. Teori smirks. And we'll win, just you wait. Shoto and Yakimaru shake hands with their new sand friends and prepare for their departure. So, you only have the Hidden Mist left, right? Kankuro asks. Correct, but we may have a different stop before that. Hinata answers. The Hidden Whirlpool Village. Naruto states. My clan's home. If there's gonna be any answers to everything that's been going on, it's gonna be there. Gaara muses. The Mizukage is yet to send word of any findings, but if it's a situation like the Land of Earth's Temple of Stone Song, where only you could enter. Exactly. We gotta go and see for ourselves. Then, I wish you all the best, Naruto. May fortune be with you. Before leaving, Naruto's group says their farewells to Guren's. We'll see each other soon, kid. Guren shakes his hand then Hinata's. She then leans down to be eye level with Yakimaru. And when we get to the Hidden Leaf, I'll be sure to find your mom. Yoi Kagatsu, right? Anything you want me to tell her? Just tell her I'm doing fine. He gives a light smile. The edges of his mouth tremble, and he clearly has trouble keeping it together, although only Guren can see it right now. He'd been so absorbed by the training that he hadn't truly stopped to worry about his mom, as he once did. Now, knowing that Guren will go see her before him, he's trying his hardest not to break down. Tell her I really miss her, and when I go back, she won't even recognize me. Guren pats him on the head. Sure thing. And pulls him into a long hug. He tries to hide his tears, but the sniffling is quite audible. When they break, Katori rushes in and hugs him instead, with Hinata and Naruto coming in to reassure the young boy. Even Shoto offers a comforting pat on the shoulder. Once he calms down, he dries his tears and prepares himself for departure. Naruto nods and his group leaves the hidden sand behind, ready for the next chapter of their journey. End of chapter 32.